posted video on that. Nobody reposted.
No.
We are live. Yes. Hey.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday, y'all. Okay, I got my live notification so I can see you on my phone as well. But happy Saturday, everyone. So, this is Project Resiliency Movement, Board and B. So we are here. We haven't been on for about 2 months.
We missed you guys.
We missed you. Look, we really missed you. We said we had to get on this in September. And, all that being said, we definitely, of course, we're talking about boundaries, y'all. We're talking about boundaries and, what does it look like? Why is it important? And a question I ask myself is,
why is it necessary?
Why is it necessary? And is boundaries part of our self-care?
Mhm.
So, come on in. Please join the chat. Let us know that you're here. Say good morning so we can see you, and say good morning to you as well. Shantae, good morning. I see you. Thank you.
Good morning.
And please, we are talking about boundaries. Share this live. Share it with at least maybe 5 other people, 10 other people that need to hear this conversation. I find when we start thinking about what boundaries look like, it's something that we fear, so we don't speak up about it, and we end up getting in a space where it's not such a good space to be in.
And the other thing I would just add too, sometimes, just like real medicine, you have preventative medicine and you have intervention medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we rethink and re-strategize our thinking around boundaries, you can set it up as a preventative method. So it prevents you from actually getting your boundaries violated. You've already set it up. If there's an expectation, if there's an understanding, if you have made people aware that these are the boundaries, this is the threshold, don't cross it, these are the lines, these are the limits. It actually prevents a lot of things from coming your way.
And it protects what's important to you and your physical and mental,
Exactly.
and social and emotional well-being.
But you need to function. Yeah.
But you got to communicate it. And that's the one thing that I see, that we think we're communicating, but if you're not face to face, or at least at bottom on the phone, because it doesn't happen through texting because of semantics. I don't know how many times we try to have a conversation, we all experience this by text, and semantics get in the way.
And I think the interesting thing that you're mentioning, Lorraine, is like, how do you actually maintain boundaries in the midst of this social distancing? So that has that's another layer to it, right? So it's like, how do you make people aware? Even though sometimes some people are still quarantined. I know people that still have not come off of quarantine. So it's like, how do you actually make people aware of your boundaries, of your space, of your limitations in the middle of a pandemic, coming off of a pandemic? Some people are still quarantining. Some people are just coming out and getting social again. So, you know what I mean? And of course, it's the whole anticipation to see people that you probably haven't seen in months or a year now. And like, how do you do that where it's like, okay, I've created a safe space for myself, the safe distance, and I really don't want to violate that, but I also don't want to actually offend anybody in the midst of me actually, being open and honest about what I need.
And when we talk about accountability, we have to be accountable to ourselves. And that means we have, as individuals, have to take responsibility to communicate that. It's often been said that, put in the terms of, you got to make a request. Well, you have to let those people know, or that person know. It's our responsibility to make that move. And that is a responsibility. I just said to Hillary 2 years ago, was kind of snarky. And I said, I got to tell you, I never apologized because I own my behavior. And in all this past time with the pandemic and everything else, sometimes you don't get a minute to see that person. Mm-hmm. So next best thing, phone call and say, I'd like to talk to you. Let's see if we can grab a cup of coffee. It doesn't have to be hours. It could be 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. But the key is to communicate it, because you can't assume people know what you're feeling or what you want, because boundaries come down to what you want and what you don't want. But there's a nice way to say that. Don't wait to let it get fueled where you're going to come out ugly. You take the time to make that a priority and say, I need to talk to you. Can we have a minute?
But don't we though? Sometimes I feel like we do that though. Like we actually hold people accountable for what we don't even share.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when they violate,
Then you are.
when they violate, then you're on them, but you never really actually shared.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you're holding accountable for something that you didn't communicate to them.
And we can't take it personal when someone does share, what that looks like for them. And when someone tells you, well, I didn't like this, or, this is just not for me, or, what, okay, I understand X, Y, and Z, but right now it's a no. Respect that. It's not personal, people.
That's big.
It's not personal. It's nothing against you. It's just, this is where that person is at.
And somebody might just need to hold some sacred space for themselves right now. It's not even about them not wanting to be around you or other people. It's just like they might just need to hold sacred space for themselves, and that might just be a moment that they're in, and that's what they need in that moment. So we have to give people grace. I say that all the time. And they need that sacred space and that safe space. Then allow them to happen.
So Shantae, thank you for sharing your live. I appreciate it. I see 3 of us is on, so I hope you guys will say hello and let us know that you're here. But what's the definition of boundaries? So of course you have to look it up, and it says personal boundaries are the limits and rules we set for ourselves within relationships, be it your friendships, be it your family, be it your love life, whatever, and even including the relationship you have with yourself, right? A person with healthy boundaries can say no to others when they want to, but they're also comfortable opening themselves up to intimacy and close relationships. That's what the definition says. Okay. Boundaries can be described as how emotionally close you let people into your space. They're also where you draw the line with your relationships with these other people, including yourself. Remember that. They say how much you're willing to give or take before requiring that things change or deciding to call it quits. So, of course, I wanted to add setting boundaries is a practice. It's a practice of self-love that allows us to reclaim and protect our energy. Don't be afraid to utilize that tool for yourself. Okay, that being said, guys, what are some examples of unhealthy boundaries?
I know with me, if I don't get proper sleep or proper nutrition, then I get razzled. It just, I'm off my game. So, for me, if I'm, eating lunch at dinner time and dinner then I'm getting razzled because, you get busy and you go, okay, stop, you have to. So that's key to me is to, in order to take care of self, you got to get the proper rest and nutrition because we tend to get so busy that we forget about taking care of self. So, and that's still time. I mean, it's okay to not, there's that old saying, you can't be everything to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the elder wisdoms is about in regards to taking somebody's actions personally, you have to allow people to be where they are, because over time we all change. What we used to do or what we used to enjoy may not be the same 5-10 years later. I know that's true for me, but don't take it personally. I say to my loved ones, I'm good, I miss you, I love you, but I love you and I support you, but I can't make it, or I'm just today's not a good day or whatever. Except that people can't always do what you want them to do. Self-care,
or just be available to you in that way.
Yeah, because I find that happens a lot. That as we get older, our lives change, our energies. I know mine's change.
Yeah,
I'm tired.
And your priorities change too.
Yeah,
things that you need to put in the forefront at different times actually changes.
And it doesn't mean you don't care about that organization or that person. You just, you have to be authentic and say, it's just not a good day. I can't make it.
Right.
Or, instead of getting into I don't have the money, this, that, and the third. It's just, that's what we have to do for one another. We have to respect other people's priorities and space and energy. I don't always come all bubbly that, and the third. Thank you guys. Yes, I am.
We deal with a lot.
No, they're good.
I'm thinking about sometimes you guys.
I
You
get
know.
them, but getting into those weeds, but it's just, that's something too, I think is part of humanity that we have to embrace more, that people are at different places in their lives, and some things might have changed, but that has no bearing on how much we love and support those people. I know I've been around my dance crew, for instance, forever, with the loss of my best friend recently, but they get it.
Yeah.
And good friends will always get it. You don't have to
You don't
be
have to
with
explain
each
it.
other 24/7 to know you got their love and support like I do with you guys. And that's the nut.
Definitely great. Definitely great. Dr. Bates, anything you want to add to that?
You said a mouthful, Mama B, but I'm just going to add a little bit. So on the back end, I would just say sometimes we give people 100% of our energy all the time. And that can be exhausting. That can be tiring, especially for those of us who are introverts. It's a lot, So it's, especially, I want to speak to, I guess, those that are, that you're naturally an introverted personality, or that's who you are at the core. You have to give yourself a lot more grace, and there's times where you're going to need to pull back. And I know for me, even though I'm really sociable, even though I'm really, really an outgoing person, I'm naturally an introvert, and so there's times I need to pull back. And my accountability partners get that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have to do a lot of explaining about what that looks like. It kind of is what it is. I have to replenish my energy. I have to, reset. I have to recalibrate, and I have to realign. In order for me to be good for everybody else, I need to do that. I need to step back. Sometimes it looks like a week. Sometimes it's like a couple of days. Sometimes it's a month. So, it all depends on what's going on. Sometimes it's 2 months. But again, it's actually letting people know that that's what you need. And if you let people know that's what you need, it's not a problem if you need to step back and do that. You know what I mean? Because they understand, okay, but that's how you function best. Is that you need to step back and have those moments to do that. So I would just say, especially if you're an introvert, be keen and be aware of when you do need to pull back your energy. When you do need to actually replenish your reserves, because you might operating on reserves. A lot of y'all are operating on reserves and thinking you're operating on a full tank, but you're in your reserves. Just like when that car goes to red, right, on that gas tank. Y'all riding on that red right now and thinking that you guys are riding on a full tank of gas, and you guys are not. So it's time to refuel. Make sure you actually make time to refuel is probably what I would say. And also, there's times when you also need to understand that and it took me a long time to get this, that everybody's not deserving of 100% of my energy. Right? So you can't hold space for everyone. 1, 2, because some people are toxic. And then if you hold space for them, you're taking on that toxicity. You know what I mean? And you kind of like, you kind of darken your energy and your output. What you're giving back to people is part of what you're putting in. So you have to just be aware of that. And that's also part of setting boundaries, is understanding who needs 100% of your energy and who doesn't, right? Who's not deserving of it. And there's times when, like where Lorraine just basically said that, what I've learned too is I'm not supposed to be in every space. Some things are my assignment and some things aren't, right? And so, people say, "Oh, this is so." My answer is that wasn't my assignment. I get a direct assignment from God daily. He'll tell me where I need to be, how I need to show up, when I need to show up, where I need to show up. And some places I don't need to show up, and he'll tell me straight up, "Well, you need to be here." So I think it's being in tune to that too. Whatever your higher power is, you know what I'm saying? For me, I'm pushing myself now. Whatever your higher power is, being in tune to that higher power, so that you're connected enough to know that, okay, I don't need to be in certain spaces, because also those spaces are not going to be deserving or not going to serve me well in terms of my boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So it's like understanding all of that too, like, how you align to your higher power, and also how that aligns to guarding your heart spaces. Yeah.
Like I said, you got to allow yourself to do that. We know a lot of folks that don't allow themselves to stop or pause.
And be honest about it too.
You got to be. That's why I say 2 keys. First of all, you got to give yourself permission and know it's okay. It's your birthright, as we always say. It's okay to say no. It's okay to stop. It's okay to not be a part of whatever celebration is going on. It's a blessing. I always
Because so you can get invited to, trust me, I
I
understand.
say that to her all the time. I think I got it bad being with 5 organizations, and these guys do triple the amount.
Yeah.
But I learned, thank God, with them too, that as long as you communicate it, then nobody, then you don't need to explain, which is a beautiful thing when you don't need to explain, and you allow yourself to do it. But most importantly, it is our responsibility to communicate that. You can't expect people to know where you're at unless you let them speak on it, even at minimum. Like I say, there's a lot of things, a lot of time segments on which I got to get a minute with someone. So I'll call and say, when we get a chance, let's, I'm not ignoring you, I'm okay. I just haven't had a chance. So, to let that person know that you still do care, you haven't forgotten them, you don't mean any harm. There shouldn't be anything negative attached to
No animosity,
yourself.
no animosity should be held if folks are doing it. And above all else, hold space for yourself. Be deserving and worthy enough to yourself to hold space for yourself. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we hold space for everything and everyone around us above ourselves. And how could you function and how could you be at 100% capacity to yourself if you're not holding that space for yourself? I'm curious to find out what folks are saying. I want to take all this.
So folks are chiming in. Of course, there's, case as in your here looks beautiful, that face. Okay. And Barb says hi. And Barb says she's just learning how to set boundaries in my most intimate relationships. No is a complete answer, as well as Tara said, peace and no on my new friends.
Good job,
Okay,
team.
good job, guys. Good job. And guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about boundaries and what does that look like? Why is it important? Why is it a necessity? Share this live with tag 5 of the people that need to be in on this conversation. I'm quite sure we all know somebody that's not setting boundaries for themselves.
Those are the friends you need to tag. Those are the friends that you need to
tag some people and get them on this live, okay?
You put them in part of the conversation too, for sure.
I just asked what are some examples of unhealthy boundaries. Share that in the chat as well so we can discuss it. I know something that we really didn't touch on was what disrespecting the values, beliefs, and opinions of others when we don't agree. So let me tell you, it's easy for us to say, you know what, I'm setting boundaries for myself. This is what it looks like. But when I hear someone else come to me and this is what their boundaries look like, and I'm not respecting that, it's a two-way street. So you have to be able to say to yourself, well, this is that person's boundaries. This is what this means. This is how much this means to that person. Let me take a step back and, you know what, just chill. Because again, I'm telling us, this is not personal. None of this is personal. People are who they are. We all have different beliefs. We all have different morals, and we all have different values. It does not look the same, and it's never going to. It's why we're all brought up differently. We all have different cultures. We all have different experiences, lessons. Look, I can go on and on. I'm just saying, be mindful. It's not personal. It's just you gotta just get to the point where, okay, you know what? I'm taking a step back and I understand this is where you're at. This is the space you're in. I'm just gonna meet you exactly where you're at right now.
And that's being respectful.
Exactly.
I was going to say the same thing. If, we all have that catchphrase is I need a minute. For me, because I'm a quality time person, I try to get back to that person and say, is everything okay? But if someone, in order to respect people's values and their own personal standards, because that's what boundaries comes down to, our personal values and standards. You step back, you try to talk to that person later. But again, if you don't communicate something, oh, she's in a mood today, or she's feeling some kind of way, at bottom, let them know you need it, or it's not a good time. So that it's less likely to take it personally. But when you talk about people,
and then don't allow people to fill in the blanks. So you feel. I'm not say you got to tell them your life story in terms of what's going on in that moment. It might be too much to talk about in that moment.
Yeah.
But you can say, listen, I'm going through something right now. I just need a little space.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I need you to get a little space to work it out. And, you know, when I'm ready, I'll reconnect. So that's enough to at least fill in the blanks of folks that they don't fill in the blanks with what they think is going on with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And also being able to understand you are not responsible for other people's feelings or happiness. You're responsible to yourself first. That's why I said boundaries are about self-care and about self-love. You're responsible for yourself first. So focus on yourself, and this is something that I am still learning each and every day. Is being able to focus on myself, responsible for my action, my reaction, and nothing else. My happiness is about me. It's not, I can't expect it from Dr. Bates or Lorraine or whoever else is out there. I have to look for it within first. When I understand what that looks like, then I can say to Dr. Bates and Lorraine, hey, look, you know, this is what I need for myself right now. And it's them to understand, like, okay, she needs that. And let me respect that. So don't be afraid to speak up, people.
And that ties into what we were talking about earlier. You have to agree to disagree, because when it comes down to it, it's about ourselves. So for anybody to get upset with you because you have a certain standard or value, it might be outdated. And again, I'm talking from generations. We still have to respect that and just let that person know by simple communications, so they know where you're at, and so you can then meet people where they're at as well. But you know, it's no good to get upset with someone, because it comes down to their choice too. You can't get angry with someone for making a choice that, for them, what I've learned, we don't always make choices that are loving and supportive for ourselves. So that takes work too, because let's face it, besides the pandemic and everything else, we're bombarded on a daily basis with 1,001 things, a lot of demands, a lot of good and bad experiences. I mean, we create our experiences, whether they're good or bad. That's on us, and that in itself takes work, because whereas in the past, I might have looked upon something as a bad experience, I took the time to do the inner work to say, no, Lorraine, that was on you. That wasn't on that situation or whatever. So
I wake up, guys, and I ask myself these 3 questions, and they're all B's, okay? All right, what is my bandwidth? Right? So lately my bandwidth has been very slim, so I don't have a lot of time to take in a lot of negative things, or the other B, you know, that begins with it, that ends with it. I don't have a lot of time to take in a lot of stuff that, you know, like in this season of my life, I'm not taking a lot of things that aren't positive in, right? I don't have the bandwidth for it, right? So what is my bandwidth, right? What kind of boundaries do I need to set today based on what the day looks like for me, okay? So do I need a little bit more boundaries today than I did yesterday? Do I need to have more time to myself and more space from me and folks today than I did yesterday? And I got to be honest with myself about these things, right? And the last thing is, okay, what kind of energy do I need to block today? Okay, I can't. You know, like, what energy am I not going to willing to accept today from folks, or I'm not going to entertain? And these are the 3 B's I ask myself every day. What is my bandwidth? What kind of boundaries do I need to get through my day today? And what kind of space do I need to hold, or energies do I need to kind of block for myself today? So the 3 B's. They're mine, but feel free to use them for your day.
because your energy is different every day.
It's different every day, and you wake up with different needs based on what your day, you know, felt like. Oh, maybe what you experienced the day before sets the tone for how you need to show up for today. You know.
Well, also too, I find that sometimes, I know we don't experience it, whereas I used to do 6 to 10 things a day. I cut that way back to maybe 2 to 3. Guess what?
I'm proud of myself sometimes if I just do 2 or 3 things.
I do too much, so you're no good when you're doing too much in the Friday, and then you're
some days I have the bandwidth for 7 things. Some days I got the bandwidth for 2. You know, and that's real talk. You know, like so.
Same here. Yeah.
So look, guys, if you're just joining us, it's Project Resiliency Movement, Forward in Peace. We are over here talking about what boundaries look like, why it's important, why it's a necessity, what are some healthy boundaries. You know, drop those notes in the comments, let us know what you're thinking. I did take the time just now in case you see me looking down. I just shared it with, I tagged a few of my friends to join the conversation. I also shared it with a few of the groups that I belong to. So feel free to do that as well. Get some folks in here and join us for this conscious conversation that we need to be having amongst us. We talk about it amongst ourselves.
This is real talk, you guys.
We talk about it amongst ourselves. This is what Project Resiliency Movement decided to. We decided to bring our little chats that we talk about amongst ourselves and do it live. Why? Because we know that we're not alone and there are other people feeling the same way too. So let's talk, okay? I did doing my little research. I realized I didn't realize how much different categories there are. Supposedly there's 7, and I'm gonna just read off some of them, right? So there's physical boundaries, there's sexual boundaries, there's emotional and mental boundaries, y'all. There's spiritual and religious boundaries, financial and material boundaries, time boundaries, and non-negotiable boundaries. So my question is, out of those 7, maybe, what 2 do you think is the most prevalent? Which 2 maybe in your life is the most prevalent to you? I would say for me, that probably would be sexual boundaries and physical boundaries, right? And I'm gonna do 3, and emotional boundaries. I find myself where that's where I probably put up the big no the most. Okay. And I know people say, oh my God, well, you talk about sex all the time. Yes, but I talk about sex, but I talk about it as in a sex positive way. Understand there is a difference. You will never catch me bashing, talking bad. It's always, how can we be sex positive? There is a difference. And I do it to educate, exactly.
That's the whole point.
Okay, so and make people feel really good about themselves. So keep in mind there's a difference, y'all. But
not to mention positivity, like this.
Intellectual boundaries of your mind. Sometimes somebody can get across that and basically insult you and go,
Yes, exactly.
But
so as far as like emotional boundaries go, I find myself where, sometimes I get to these little ruts. I'm not gonna lie, I get depressed. I do. But I always somehow I'm able to pull myself out of it. I don't tend to let myself get too deep into my depression because I have to remember that there's always somebody out there worse off than I. There's always someone else out there going through worse off than me. God gave me life as long as I get up and I breathe.
Right.
It's time to move on and keep going.
That's my go-to too.
I'm a firm believer in when you set your feet down, you ground it, and you let the world know that you are here. You are in this space today. Take advantage of it and don't let other people take advantage of you. Okay.
Breath being key. If you wake up each day and you're breathing, that's my go-to.
Let's have the battle right there.
That's more than that because again, like Hillary said, we know there's people going through worse.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I had
trust and believe because you know these people.
Yeah.
And that brings us to my next question. Why are we so bad at setting boundaries?
Well, there's a lot of reasons.
Why are we so bad at saying to people?
I'm gonna be honest, and I think sometimes it's that we're not honest with ourselves. That's the first reason. So we're not honest with ourselves in terms of what we really need for functionality and well-being. And so if we're not honest with ourselves about what we need, we then can't communicate that to other people. And then we're insecure about communicating it to others because we still haven't really kind of worked it out within our own selves, our own formula for balance. You know what I mean? Like we still haven't discovered what that looks like. And so we're not positive about what that looks like. So we can't affirm that or confirm that to other people that we're engaging with. Because so it's like, okay, well, if I really don't know, then am I really secure to share with others about what I really need? What I do? I don't know. I don't really know what I need. You know what I mean? So it's like you have that conversation, you're having with yourself, and you're unsure or you're insecure about what that looks like, but you might not necessarily feel that confident to express that or communicate that to the folks around you.
And what I learned was self-disrespecting is a real thing. So
Yeah.
imagine if you don't take the time to understand who you are, what you need from yourself, and why you need to relay that and communicate that to others. It's a form of self-disrespect. And I'll raise my hand first and tell you, I fall into that category sometimes. So, being mindful, again, the key word is mindful, to know and understand who you are first and foremost, always.
It took me a long time, a lot of years, to understand the value and importance of setting boundaries, and also of understanding the fact that I need to let people know what I need. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes you just assume like, oh, I do all these things for the people, and man, people don't show up for me the way I might show up for them. And then you're like, dang, you know what I'm saying? This person gets fired, this person gets, so everybody gets a piece of you. And then you're like, okay, dang, they're gonna see all the output, and then you make the assumption, right, that they're gonna actually then be that for you in return. And it doesn't always come like that. And then you get offended when it doesn't come like that, and then you're like, you get resentful. Dang, I was there for everybody. I gave them all these pieces and components of my 100%, right? And then it's like, they don't show up for me the way I show up for them. What, what is it? Why? Then you get into a resentful space. Yeah. And then it's not until you really do some self-assessment and you say, man, but did I communicate to them what I needed?
Exactly.
Right? Did I share with them what the expectation is for, what I'm saying, for us as friends or accountability partners or whatever? Am I open and honest about the fact that there's some non-negotiables? Or am I honest and open about the fact that there's times where I might need to rely on you just as much as you rely on me, especially if you're the strong friend. And I might be speaking more so right now to the strong friend or the strong individual, right? So there's a lot of weight on the strong friend, and there's a lot of weight on the strong folks, right? So and also expect for us to show up in ways all the time and be consistently available. And so it took a long time to learn that I cannot be always consistently available. That's burnout, one. Two, I need people that are going to and willing to show up for me as much as I'm willing to show up for them. And if I'm looking at relationships and it's a lot of one-sidedness, then I need to reassess and realign the types of relationships I'm connecting myself to. So it took me a long time to unpack all of that, but I'm just sharing all of that. This is a 5-minute conversation, but it definitely took a lot of years to unpack everything I'm just sharing in 5 minutes.
Trust and believe. I attest to that.
Yeah. One of the best little type of activities you can do for yourself that I learned a while back is you make a list of what you need and what's not negotiable.
Yeah.
And then you could keep going back to that list. I got criticism on that one. Because when I'm feeling some kind of way, go, wait a minute, that's not happening. And it's an easy checklist to say, okay, I've got this relationship is no longer aligning with.
It's not viable. It's no longer viable.
And that's the thing.
And you know what? That's okay. Because people come into your life for, but people come into your life for seasons, reasons, and stages, right? So you got to understand: is this is their season up? Am I keeping them beyond their season, right? And also, is the stage and the connectivity that I was supposed to be connected to them? Is that stage of my life? Is that stage of my life no longer functional, right, or viable? So I think we have. There's a lot of assessment that needs to happen. With us, but also with us assessing ourselves against the people that we're connected to in relation to our bodies.
Like you say, you got to communicate that, and you got to accept the fact, because we all know this, things are going to change over time. That's a natural way of evolving for everyone. So there's no reason for any animosity. That if you really love and support your loved ones, then you're going to go with it. You're going to meet them where they are and allow for those changes, knowing that's going to happen. And that's okay. It's okay.
That's growth.
That's growth.
And sometimes growth takes a while for not just yourself as an individual, but people that you're literally setting these boundaries for and with, right? I have stories. I can tell you stories, but I will tell you this. I remember the day I said no to my own family, and they were like, "She said no? What should mean no?" Let me tell you, it's when I realized I did myself the biggest favor in the whole wide world, because they never heard me speak up for myself. They never heard me, really say she's going to not do anything for us. She's going to do it for herself. Like, I never did that before. And the day I did that, it was the most freeing thing I've ever done for myself. And I'm not going to lie, I lost a really good bit of my family behind that no. But it was the best thing I did in my life. So don't be afraid to let people go that you've been holding space for. Let them go, because if it's meant for them to come back, they'll come back. And at that time, hopefully they will have grown and they will have matured enough to say, you know what, I really get where she was coming from at that time. And now I see why is it she needed that for herself. Why is it she said no? Why is it she couldn't do as I needed her to do for me, right? So don't be afraid to let people go. Sometimes it's the people closest to you, blood related, that you really have to not hold that space for. Don't be afraid to let them go, people. I tell you, it's the most rewarding experience you'll ever feel. And are you alone? You're gonna feel. I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna feel alone for a little bit, but you're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna climb back out of it. Because we're not alone. I have a beautiful extended family amongst my friends.
I sure do too.
Not alone. Trust and believe.
And
My tribe is
and we've talked about that, because here again, after you've been doing I'll give the example of Sunday dinners at our family. When I finally had to say, no, I want my Sundays, my one day of rest to myself, to do whatever I want to do, even if that means nothing.
Right.
And that was a tradition. We've talked about this, and I'm sure it happens among you guys all the time. That's one of the reasons we don't set boundaries, because we're afraid to upset people. We're afraid to set up the consequences if they break them. It comes out of a lot of fear. But when you've done something for years and years and years, it was especially with family, it's considered a tradition. And all of a sudden, it's not working for you anymore. And you have to give it to yourself, like you did with your family, to say, no, it's very hard. We're not gonna lie, but guess what? It's possible. And when I review all that I've changed over the years, it makes me feel good, because those were accomplishments, huge accomplishments. Whereas I would have never said no before. I'm much more comfortable.
I think if you can get over doing that with family, you can do it with anyone.
Like
if you create boundaries with family and speak up for yourself and actually hold space for yourself and be bold and stand in your space. This is what I need. This is non-negotiable. If you can do that with your family, and then anybody else that comes along, it becomes easier. I'm not saying it's easy. It just becomes easier, because family is the hardest to do that.
I was just going to say, and we all know that.
I wouldn't just say family. Your affections with like the really close friendships.
Yeah.
Then
you have a family that's like friends.
Yeah,
you have friends like
family, that obligation, you're always feeling guilty. I gotta go. And then how many of us said after a time, can't do that?
Listen, sometimes I would be invited to, like, it was getting crazy. I would be invited to, like, a day like this, I would have like 7 events. You know what I mean? And I would actually literally spend the first 15 minutes at one event, leave, go spend 20 minutes at another one, leave, go spend 15 minutes. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Talk about burnout.
And I was burnout. But nobody saw my burnout. Nobody saw it. And I showed up, and I was like, I'm holding space for all these people, and this time, but nobody would see me in the fact that I was burnt out in the process of doing all this holding space. And
then while we're doing this, another to keep what I've learned over the years is, when we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to do that, there's another two key points to that. You don't have to go off on someone. You could do it with love and compassion. And that's where we're talking about communicating that to the other person is so vital, because if we don't communicate it, or we don't make that request based on our standards, that boundary with people, it's not fair, it's not right, in that sense, because we can't expect people to know what we want or what we're feeling all the time, or what we're
I
going
agree.
through.
I
Especially
agree.
when we're quiet, so,
So, guys, if you are just joining us, Project Resiliency Movement, we're here and we are talking about what boundaries look like. Why is it important? Why is it necessary? What are some signs of unhealthy boundaries? Have you experienced it? What are your personal boundaries? Like, drop those in the comments.
We want to hear.
We definitely want to hear from you. I know when I start thinking about boundaries and when I, that personal boundaries, I just want to let people know it's important. It's important because it's the basic guidelines that we set of how we, meaning I, want to be treated, right? Boundaries are those basic guidelines that people create to establish how others are able to behave around them. Okay, so setting boundaries can ensure that relationships can be mutually respected, appreciated, and cared for. So it's like how you think of yourself. You definitely want that for your relationships of whomever you're having relationships with. You want to make sure that again, you are paying attention and being mindful and being very respectful of other people's spaces. Not just your own, but other people. I know I talk a lot about self, and some have called me narcissistic because I talk about self. But self is home. Home is where everything starts. If I know how I feel and how I want to be treated, you have to respect that. Just like you would want me to respect you. It's reciprocated. It's a two-way street, right? So keep that in mind that when we're thinking about boundaries, don't be afraid to set the spaces that you need for yourself and hold that space for yourself first. It's not narcissistic. That's a belief.
and remember, you have the right to do that. No
It's your
matter
birthright.
what general,
think I'm about to start-
generation or
I think I'm about to
ancestral.
start a movement. It's my birthright.
Yeah.
It's my birthright.
We got
Here's a good one. And this is for us that, have those relationships with close people. How do we tell others, you're not respecting my boundaries? How do we have that conversation?
I think sometimes we don't want to create a ripple effect.
Yes.
Or we don't want to.
I want to rock the
We don't
boat.
want to rock the boat. It's probably the best way to say it. And especially when you're dealing with somebody with strong personality, and maybe the person you're dealing with has a strong personality. You don't want to rock the boat. So it's like the hardest part is, number one, actually identifying, maybe where the violation took place. So when you're talking about it, you're not just talking about feelings. You're talking about facts. So I think in those scenarios, you want to stick to the facts. So the facts are, what I'm saying. This is kind of like this is being created. The facts are, this is what's going on with me. This is how I'm feeling. And I'm not going to ignore that. Ignore my feelings or ignore my emotions. I'm going to have to be honest and forthright about about what's going on. So I think honestly, it's about understanding the fact that it's not going to be a healthy relationship just because you don't want to create a ripple effect. Only thing that happens is like a volcano, right? So it's like at some point in time, you're not addressing it, is going to make that volcano erupt. You know what I mean? So you're keeping it together because you don't want to make waves or you don't want to create ripples. Doesn't necessarily stop, change, or configure the situation. The only thing it does is make it boil over and erupt at some point. So it's better to do it real time. That way the person can identify what what it is and can remember it too. Because sometimes if you're waiting like 15, 20 years down the road to tell somebody, they can't even go back and remember that. And hold them accountable all that time.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can do it real time so people can actually recollect or even have an idea about what you're talking about. Like, okay, I can remember that. I didn't know it was offensive to you, but I can remember.
Yes.
That's it, to piggyback on what you were saying, Dr. Page says, that's why we take it for granted, we talk about it all the time, but we're talking real communication. Bottom line is you gotta speak on it. And if you don't, I mean, I know time has gone by where I said, oh, I never got to tell
Apologize
you.
after 2
And she
years,
didn't
y'all.
remember.
She just meets me
So I-
2 years ago.
And I said, I have to tell you this because it's been on my heart forever and you probably don't remember.
I appreciate
but,
that.
Yeah.
2
You
years
know,
later.
but I'll do that with folks I don't see or say, yeah, that's okay. It's still, because I take that as my responsibility. They know
Yeah.
I'm
Held yourself accountable.
extremely
Love
accountable.
it.
If
Love
I
it.
don't do something, I'm saying, Lorraine, get to it. Now, that being said, you're not always able to express that to the person, but here again, when you ask, well, what would you do? I make sure I need a minute, somehow, some way.
And if it's not verbally, write a letter.
That's it. Or,
You know, go old school. Write
you know,
write a letter. You know what I mean? Like,
voice. You know,
do a voice recording.
Yeah.
Shoot it. You know what I mean?
you know,
Like,
because people tell me all the time, it was so nice to hear your voice. So, again, you know, there's a way. If it's on your heart, you're gonna do it. You will win. But the sooner the better, to pick up on what you're saying, because things will fester and people will forget. And not everybody's that conscientious and say, oh, you know what, my bad, I've gotta speak on this. Even if it is 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. I think that person likes to know that you were thinking of them and you felt like you came at them at work.
yeah. I'm not saying don't apologize. It's been 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I'm just saying it's better to do it when it's in real time.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
If you need to apologize and it's on your heart to do so, do it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, yeah.
But
So-
Teresa,
Teresa said, it's very important. And she says, when I started to speak up for myself, one thing member said I was being me. I can so relate. But it was so freeing to say no. I 100% agree.
yes, ma'am.
And it pertains to, you know, how do you protect your boundaries, people? And this is what I came up with. Definitely make sure that you enjoy some self-reflection, right? So tap into that. Start small, set them early, be consistent. Says create a framework of what that looks like. Feel free to add extras. Be aware of social media. Now, we didn't even talk about social media. Social media's boundaries. It's unreal, right? But definitely communicate. And something else I'm learning, and especially with having kids and a young teenage daughter, who's a little different from the rest, right? I'm learning that I have to ask permission instead of just assuming that she's going to go the way I decide to do things. Yes, I'm a parent, but that is a new boundary that I'm learning about within this day and age. Because 2021, the kids are not the same they were in
Sure not.
1990, right? With that being said, I said to myself, I'm learning what boundaries look like for, you know, in raising a teenage daughter. So people, remember that it's not just about you, but boundaries is for each and every person that we make contact with. Be mindful of what that person's boundaries. It's just easier just to maybe sit back, observe, assess. And that way you'll know who it is that you're dealing with. But if you're unsure, it's nothing like asking a question and seeking, you know what, hey, you know, can you let me know? I was thinking about X, Y, and Z. You know, are you down? If not, okay. But again, if it's not personal. It's not a personal attack against
That
you.
clarity.
Yes.
Never forget about clarity, you know, you gotta be clear, even in the boundaries we set for ourselves, or we're inquiring about others, being clear is so important, you know, and a lot of times if the emotions get in the way, like you say, if you don't sit back and assess them for yourself first before you approach that person, you know, you're not gonna come off clear and what are you talking about, you know? Or the way you come out. I mean, you all know, we all tease about me going program. Well, yeah, I stopped doing that.
She does
Because
that.
I'm better. I look at it as much better because I know.
Okay, you might be a little Long Island still.
Yes. You came
But you ain't
off the
all
wrong
the
way, or, and so, somebody, I offended someone, but again, gotta, it is just as easy to communicate at that time and say, you know what? My bad, I
Yeah, I
realized,
agree.
I did not need to come out that way, okay? Just so you know,
Own your stuff, folks.
you gotta own
Own your stuff.
anything and everything about yourself, good, bad, or otherwise, that's the key.
So in wrapping it up, how do we set loving boundaries for others to respect? Hey, my kind of comments of how you did.
Yeah.
But it says all healthy relationships have boundaries. So all healthy relationships have boundaries. You never said that.
Mhm.
Ask permission. Ask permission. Take one another's feelings into account. That's what we've been saying all along, right?
Wow, that's have those feelings.
Yes. Show gratitude. Okay. Be honest. Be intentful, but be honest. Give space for autonomy and avoid codependence. Show respect for differences in opinion, perspective, as well as feelings. Sit with others. Sit with the other person's communication of emotions. Okay. So it's not personal. We all have boundaries. We all want to be respected. I think if we can go back to that saying, treat others like you want to be treated, and remember that always first and foremost when you come in interaction with anyone, including family, you'll find that you'll move in better spaces. You won't feel so alone. You won't feel like people aren't understanding you. And I would say that's probably the thing that's helped me the most is trying to make sure that I put myself in another person's, shoes and how would that person feel.
Right. I think I learned to just ask more questions.
Mm.
So instead of telling people what they should be doing or how they should be doing it, it's like asking more questions.
Yeah.
So you can assess and you can clarify to them what might be going on. And through asking the questions, they might be able to resolve whatever's going on with themselves. And I don't even have to say it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I think it's a me saying, oh, I have the best method, or I have the best approach, or my opinion, or my advice it might be the best. I just ask more questions.
Yes.
I don't even come with my advice. I just ask questions.
And there's another element to be okay with that person. You may not be the one that person wants to talk to. Here again, don't take it personally. You have to allow people to do what serves their highest. So you might not be the one, but it doesn't hurt to wish people well, regardless.
Sure doesn't.
And also, you can actually say, listen, it doesn't have to be me, but I think you should talk to somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be me. I think that's the best way to approach that too. It's like, listen, I feel like you probably need to talk to someone. It doesn't have to be me. I don't need to know, but I really would suggest that you do talk to somebody about this. You know what I mean? Like, whatever's going on, I would suggest you talk to somebody.
So
That way they can maintain their boundaries and then choose who they want to actually
Exactly.
work with.
That's the ultimate respect.
Yeah.
Respecting the person in their space.
yes, exactly. Now understand this. I want to throw this into to end a conversation. Boundaries is not about turning the other cheek. Boundaries means that you have to face what is going on in that situation, in the present, right now. It's not about turning the other cheek and being like, ignoring what's going on. Okay? Keep that in mind. Okay? And be mindful, be respectful. Don't be afraid to communicate, talk to people, have a conscious conversation with yourself as well as others. Okay? So, I don't know. Dr. Bates, do you have anything else you want to say?
I guess my last thing would just be the gatekeeper to your own heart.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? So what will you allow into your heart space? There's what do you need in this season into your heart space? What needs to be blocked or have boundaries created around in regards to your heart space? Be the gatekeeper to your own heart space. Okay, so that's probably my best suggestion when it comes to boundaries. And your heart's gonna use your heart to guide you in terms of what needs to be connected to you in this season and what needs to be blocked from you or have boundaries created on this season.
Be a spectator to your behavior. You have to be real. You've got to take that minute to look at what am I doing? What could I have done better? What could I have said better? What could I have done? It's all about that mindfulness because, like I said, we're bombarded with 1,001 things a day. So taking literally a minute, we all know. How often do we allow ourselves time to ourselves? That still time that I always refer to. Gotta have it, mentally for your mental and physical health. You gotta give yourself permission to have that minute for yourself.
Love it. So, guys, thank you. It is Saturday, September 25th. The sun is out. Fall started a couple days ago. Looks like the weather's starting to cool down a bit, but hey, we are still getting some sunshine to enjoy. So please get out, take in some fresh air, become at one with yourself, love on yourself. Don't be afraid of loving yourself. Don't let no one tell you otherwise. And hey, please share this chat.
Next PRM chat. Speaking of whole chats. When is our next PRM chat?
Oh, our next PRM chat is October 23rd. So we'll be back next month in about 4 weeks, October 23rd. Join us 12 o'clock. Okay, anything else, Activate?
Just want to say thank you for joining us. We hope this conversation was beneficial for you. And take these conversations as discussion starters, conversation starters. Have these conversations among your own peers, your accountability networks, your friends. And again, bring this live to those spaces and then allow those conversations to unfold. You'll be surprised sometimes what comes out of these conversations when you use these lives as discussion starters within your own networks and your own circles.
And another important thing is don't base setting up boundaries on your past. Make sure they're created
Yes.
for your present.
Oh my God,
That's
a
another one that we
Mom, can you say that one more time? That was really good.
Yes, that was
we
awesome.
cannot create boundaries based on our past. They have to be present. And here again, the other change over time. Things change. What you used to enjoy, you might not enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
No one, and I mean no one, has the right to tell you how to live your life. Period. That's it. I mean, and that is the ultimate respect. That's why I love these guys, because I can come just as I am. And that is the ultimate respect that anybody can give you. That people treat you just like that.
Ooh, we have a Mr. on the phone. So,
Oh,
hey,
Mr.
Hey, Alfred, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. You've been watching for a minute. It says, if we all own up to the right and wrong, we all be better people towards each other. I 100% agree with you there. We all don't see eye to eye, but I do agree with you there.
What is for you is for you.
Yes,
There is no right or wrong.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Oh my God, look what you just said.
If somebody breaks your boundary, then it's time to go back, have that conversation again. If it keeps happening repeatedly, especially
People show you who they are, believe them.
then that's your signal. It's time to let go. With love and compassion.
And understand boundaries can change, just like your dreams, your goals, and whatever else. Your boundaries can change, and if it changes, communicate that, because people don't know what it is that you like or don't want versus want.
Mm-hmm.
We can't keep up. Communicate that, and again, just be respectful of that space for yourself and for that person. Hey, Dr. Bates, you got an announcement to make.
Yes, we do. So we know how much you guys have enjoyed our bonfires. Of course, we did our first one last year, fall. We did a spring bonfire, and we're actually changing it up a little bit. This autumn, we decided to bring in the autumn equinox with the cleanse. So we're moving from a bonfire format to a more cleansing, space event that we're going to hold on October 16th. So we want to make sure you guys are in the building for that. If you're looking to cleanse going into the last quarter of the year, so you can manifest, right? It's still the year of manifest for us. The things that you want to accomplish for 2021. There's still time. There's still a couple months left to get those goals done and those dreams accomplished. So we want to make sure that you're fully cleansed so that you can do that and take into what you need to take into for 2021 and what you want to usher into for 2022. You can set a tone for that.
So 2022 is the year of intention.
Intention.
So stay tuned, y'all. We'll be back in a month. And thank you for joining us.
Take care, guys.
Take care.